Hi, my name is Nancy Love, and I'm making this on behalf of the Planet Peace Project, an organization that uh, was born in my mind in 2004 and has never yet, actually, yeah, 2004, and has never yet found its wings. But oh well, who believes in peace anymore anyway? Not me. The question becomes, how are drug addicts fueling international terrorism? You'd think that drug addiction is a personal problem and it's going to impact the person's life, their family, their friends, their job, their future, their health. But in point of fact, drug addicts support drug dealers. Drug dealers wouldn't have any customers if it weren't for the people that they really, really need to be addicted to what they're selling. Your drug dealer is not your friend. Your drug dealer considers you a slave, and he's just your pimp. And he prostitutes you, he or she prostitutes you as you have your biochemical need for more and more and more of what they sell, right? Okay. Drug dealers fuel international terrorism. They are doing the money laundering. They are doing the slave selling, and they are doing the gun running. And by guns, I mean things like missiles, like the rockets that shoot missiles, the bazookas that assassinate presidents, and the things that are doing the worst in the world. Drug addicts are making it possible for the same exact cadre of people who sold them the drugs to also be selling human beings in a variety of ways that they sell human beings. And they're selling weapons. So these weapons are what is being used to have, terrorist assaults on communities. And by terrorist assault, I mean bombing the Georgia Guidestones. That was an act of terrorism, and it will not be forgiven, not on earth, not on heaven, not in hell. Whoever took down the Georgia Guidestones will not be forgiven, not on earth, not in heaven, not in hell. There was some good advice if anybody could have listened, if there ever was good advice. And we have primarily what is known in America as the shootings, the public shootings, the mass shootings. A lot of these are happening in schools. It's massively, massively tragic. Innocents are being targeted and lost before they even have a chance to get on with their lives. And these things, as we all know, are also happening in public. People are now sort of afraid to go out in public and do a lot of shopping from home and get things delivered because they don't want to be out in public when one of these people goes crazy with a gun that they shouldn't have to begin with, and that they got from international drug dealing, slave running, weapon sellers. It's all the same trash. I have known people, I have actually talked to people in San Diego and Los Angeles, California, who said that they are only involved with cocaine and a few other drugs, and they are only perpetuating what they call rape parties, which is apparently a popular pastime in which a bunch of cocaine fiends, otherwise known as worthless garbage, drug and rape and traffic people who are not in any way involved in drug use or prostitution and never would be. So they do this to people, they victimize people who are better than they are, precisely because those people are better than they are. And they're jealous and they're unworthy of the attention and love of the people who are superior to them. So they have to somehow try to bring those people down to their level, right? And they have to do this because they are completely insecure, jealous, massively imperfect, completely inferior, and they are victimizing all kinds of people. I've counseled some of these victims, and the destruction is rampant in their lives. They are horrified to wake up from some sedating drug or some other type of drug that causes cognitive impairment, which renders them incapable of giving consent, which is in many states a felony, which is in, to sedate someone with the intent to sexually assault them or to traffic them while they're sedated or otherwise cognitively compromised is in itself a crime. Sometimes people get, listen to me, sometimes people get sentenced to 20 years in prison for that alone, whether or not they participated in the assaults, the types of theft that occurs after the sedatives have been administered, right? They say, well, they just said, I've talked to these people. I've looked them right in the face with horror as they say, well, they only sedated someone. They didn't participate in the rape and the trafficking. And I'm going, take the only out of that sentence. You should be in jail. I have no sympathy for these people. I think they should all be lined up and shot. I have gone from being someone who was against capital punishment for well over half a century to being someone who now believes that we should have public executions for this type of crime. We should have public executions for people who are perpetuating this kind of crime against their superior officers. There is such a thing as moral dignity, and very, very, very few people that I can tell have any anymore. And it is really, really sad. It is a sad state that we live in when almost no one is actually trustworthy. Almost everyone is morally corrupt. Almost everyone is engaged in some kind of criminality, and everybody's whining about how their drug addiction makes them a more creative person or something. No, it doesn't. It makes you a slave. Your drug addiction makes you a willing slave. Why don't you rail against your chains? Why don't you find a way or make a way to free yourself? Because the rest of us, those of us who want our cognitions to behave normally, those of us who want our brains to actually function the way brains were designed to do, we get really tired of people proselytizing for the cause of their prolonged adolescence. It's one thing to experiment with things as a child. It's another to continue to proselytize for the cause of being a drug addict when you're an adult. And I'm really, really, really disgusted with these people. So, the way drug addicts perpetuate international terrorism is they support drug dealers. And drug dealers are doing the gun running and the slave selling and the money laundering for international cabals of organized crime that are causing war and causing pollution. So war and pollution and, oh yes, famine. It all leads to false prophecy. Your drug addict, your drug dealer is a false prophet because they keep telling you you need them and what they sell. So you got all the four horsemen of the apocalypse wound up in those cabals. You got your war, they're selling weapons. You got your famine, they're causing famine, they're causing hunger. You got your pestilence, they're causing disease. They're causing drug addicts are less resistant to practically any disease. And I personally got a lot of people to stop smoking marijuana with each other once the COVID thing hit, because people were still like they were complete idiots. Some of these people have college degrees. Some of these people have college degrees in biology or some other, health related field. And they're sitting there passing joints between each other, putting something in their mouths with each other, passing pipes and bongs, when that could be infected with a disease that could kill them in 8 to 10 days. What are they, got a death wish along with their yen for more pot? I absolutely got people to stop smoking marijuana, at least in communal situations like that. Because you wouldn't think you had to tell them, but you did apparently, because they couldn't figure out that what they were doing could cost them their lives all of a sudden. Smoking marijuana in public with people like that could suddenly be deadly. Maybe we should cull the herd, and if those people die out, cool, better for the rest of us. And so, your drug dealers, your false prophet, that's one of the horsemen of the apocalypse. I'm so angry I can barely speak. You got your famine, you got your war, you got your pestilence. It's all wound up with drug addiction. So always remember